What's a secret that you have that will probably die with you? I contemplated suicide for a time a while back. I was going to do it after I became of age to purchase a handgun and shoot myself. I will become of age next week. It's crazy to think about how I felt at that time, and the idea of dying before I accomplish what I want. I manage my dark thoughts and feelings in a better way now, and I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Alt account, because I refuse to have this on my main. I think my dad may be attracted to me. When I was a teenager, I borrowed his computer to use the printer, and I stumbled upon a shit ton of incest porn. Like, the father-daughter kind. I've since then noticed how my dad looks at me. Even the thought of it makes me absolutely want to throw up. This is the first time I've even said it out loud, and it will probably be the last. My mother emotionally neglected me as a young child, and the only time she'd show me her exclusive attention is when I would get hurt or sick. My abusive, yet chronically ill, now dead brother was her priority. So one time, I broke my wrist and got a cast for the first time. It was orange because it was Halloween time, and my mom put pumpkin stickers on it. She took me out to lunch and the gift shop to get a toy. Once all was said and done, the exclusive attention subsided. In a deeply distorted brain as a young child, yearning for her mom to pay attention to her more, I would purposely break my wrists and ankles. I voluntarily broke my bones 6 different times in 2 years. My mom also didn't question it either, as she was too high on opioids to raise an eyebrow about my excessive bone breaking and one cast after another. I am super lucky to have been super close to my wonderful and caring mother my whole life. I lived with her from the time I was born until she died when I was 26 years old. She was the glue that held our family together. She was there for anyone and everyone. Family parties and holidays were civil because of her. This isn't a big secret, but it would break hearts. She outwardly loved everyone and secretly hated about 80% of them. The secrets I was let in on also ruined any affection I had for most of them. It's amazing what she did for her mom and my grandmother to keep the appearance of her happy little family together. Now the family is in ruins. TLDR, mom kept the family together for my gram and hated almost everyone. I lied about my first time having sex to everyone and still do. I was 18 at the time, and my friends arranged a dinner/lunch/party with cake every time someone lost their virginity. I hated the pressure and felt that my virginity suddenly wasn't my own business anymore. So I lied and said I had sex with a make-believe guy at a house party, had the cake, and felt great. My virginity was solely my business again. I don't regret doing this for a second. In reality, I had sex for the first time at 21, when I felt ready with a guy I felt safe with. Had great sex and a great first time. This is no one else's business but mine, so I don't feel the need to tell anyone. This is not a big secret, however, a secret that has helped me greatly. Using my throwaway. I used to work at an investment bank. However, to get the job, I had to do a variety of assessments, which among others included an Excel financial modeling test. Now I'm quite experienced with Excel, have built lots of complex financial models, but what this task involved was to make some corrections to a very poorly built financial model. Not intentionally bad, just whoever did it didn't know their stuff well. They leave me in a room with a laptop to complete this task. I open up the spreadsheet and have very little idea where to start. This is just making no sense. As I'm scanning through the tabs, desperately trying to find things I'm able to do, I noticed something saved on the desktop. Some previous candidate's attempt was accidentally saved there. Well, I opened it up and started copying what the guy had done and added a few tweaks of my own. I ended up getting the job. I had to buy my own engagement ring. Bless my wife, but she got scammed hard. The ring she got me was actually lead. It literally fell apart within weeks. So I got a custom mold made so I could make a duplicate, only in gold. I will never tell her. She's so hard on herself already just day to day. When I was an 18-year-old college freshman, I was arrested for public intoxication. I was, still am, such a lightweight, so it didn't take much for me to be over the legal limit. I was just a stupid teen and was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I ended up in jail. I remember that the resident advisor on my dorm floor loaned me money for bail, and I had to appear in court and had a conviction. 4 years later, as a college grad, I feared that I would be fired from a job for failure to disclose a conviction. Somewhere in my 20s, I hired a lawyer and was able to purge my conviction and retrieved all documentation, fingerprint card, mugshot, police report. 50 years later, my siblings don't know, and my parents, now deceased, never knew. I'm going to burn everything before I go. I slept with my dad's girlfriend's sister years ago, and there's a chance I could be a father. A couple years ago, I, 17 male, went to my dad's GF's housewarming party for dinner. She invited her sister over so she could see the house, and the entire dinner, she, 32 female, was making eyes at me, even putting her legs over mine on the couch while watching TV. A while later, we snuck out and the dirty ensued. Turns out my dad's GF was a cheater, so that didn't last long, and I never did see her sister after that. But about a year later, I heard through the grapevine that she had a kid and confirmed it on her social media. The timetables matched up, and the kid's features looked like they could have been mine. The world may never know. When I was younger, my grandmother gave me $1,000 after coming over to her house and doing some chores for her. My parents never knew about it because they told me I would be paid in food and a bed to sleep in. After coming home, I hid the money under my mattress until they went to work the next day. I put the money in a medicine bottle and buried it in the backyard, which is still there to this day. Been taking that dirt nap for about 15 years. I'm 30 now. After a while, I kinda just forgot about it until I watched a YouTube video about time capsules, which somehow reminded me of that old money I buried. Should a rainy day ever come, I'll be sure to dig it up. I'm not sure if any of you remember the railroad killer. Around the time before his capture, he had reportedly come through our area. In my early 20s, a few friends and I were hiking in some woods that were bordered by train tracks. We had been discussing the serial killer during our hike. One of my friends picked up a rock by the tracks that had some red color on it, and I jokingly asked, "Oh no, is that blood?" Another friend joked, "Maybe it's from the railroad killer." We all chuckled about the stupid joke and carried on our hike. That night, one of the friends was in his apartment. He had been drinking, then he heard someone trying to break in through his front door, which was locked. He yelled several times for the person to identify themselves. Being under the influence and frightened, he got his pistol and shot the person through the door. It killed them instantly. Later, my friend told the police that he was remembering our previous conversation about the serial killer. Being drunk, he thought that's who was trying to break into his apartment. Turns out, it was just another resident of the building. He had also been drinking and mistakenly thought he was unlocking the door to his own apartment. The police called me at work the next day to question me. They were trying to justify my friend's mindset at the time of the shooting. I've never told anyone else because I feel responsible for that person's untimely death. My mom is a hoarder. When I got old enough to go away for weekends, but not move out, I would have panic attacks when I got home. I would usually sit outside and let them pass. One time, it got so bad I had hives everywhere. My legs went numb. My mom called 911. I told her it was due to a cat allergy, and I told all the doctors not to tell her anything. She is too mentally fragile. This isn't as dark and as heavy as a lot of the content here, but this is still getting spread with the ashes. When I was 10, I created a fake account on an interactive website to fuck with my friend, and she ended up falling completely in 10-year-old love with this made-up avatar boy named Charlie. It got to the point where she was so invested in this, I went to the lengths of creating a Yahoo Messenger account so they could message and send pictures to each other. This went on for, in my 29-year-old memory, at least a year. I spent so much time creating this fake persona that to this day, about 20 years later, she still brings up how mad she is that his parents made him delete his account, and he never tried to find her again. She still refers to him as her boyfriend. R.I.P. Charlie. Also R.I.P. my moral ethical code in 2002. I feel like A, this is why children cannot be trusted on the internet, and B, I am very gay now, having had mostly female partners in my teen/adult years, and I think this may have been my first expression of that interest. C, there is a chance she has a flip side to this story, where she knows everything, and we are both too far gone to ever confront each other about it. A police officer off duty physically intimidated me by backing me into a counter. I had bruises on my spine and my lower back still messed up, and forced himself on me. Basically coerced me into letting him rape me. I just pretended to be into it so he wouldn't see my fear and smell blood in my water, so to speak. He slapped me so hard my ears rang multiple times. He tore something in my shoulder, maybe a tendon. Something is going on with my neck since that happened. No idea what. He lifted me off the ground while choking me and holding my hands behind my back, wrapping an arm around my neck/collarbone area and arching his back well behind me. I remember hearing something crack. The pain didn't hit till I got home. I spent the next 3 days crying hysterically. First because the pain was some of the most intense I'd experienced, and then because it slowly dawned on me how not okay it was as I replayed it in my head over and over. I don't blame myself, but I am sad, and the world feels a little more hostile. I was high when I was like 14, walking back from the video game store. I literally shit my pants and was walking for like 40 minutes to get back home. Couldn't call my parents because I was high. It didn't want to get embarrassed in front of my friends. Worst walk of my life. Took like a 3-hour shower after it. Did not help that it was 105 degrees outside. Probably the reason I quit smoking altogether. That my emotions are fading away. I grow more and more cold and empty every year. Only one who knows is my wife. I wasn't always like this. It started in my teens. Because of this, I have never felt love, nor hate. I'm constantly blank and oblivious to the world. I'm managing, but things people feel for granted, I have to learn to react to. I do feel, however, that something is trapped deep inside me and can't get out. It was Christmas a few years ago. I was 16. My mom accidentally left the back door open while trying to air out the house, and my grandmother's dog, an 18-year-old dog, had fallen inside the lake. My mom felt terrible. The dog had passed away, and on top of that, my grandmother's husband was already in the hospital. Everyone was devastated. My mom felt so guilty. She had asked my grandmother if she could air out the house, and she said yes. So I lied and told my mom that I remember her closing the door, and I had opened it again when my brother sprayed Febreze everywhere. That part was actually true. He had sprayed Febreze everywhere. Of course, my mom believed me. I don't think I'll ever tell her that she actually opened the door. The first words of our youngest were, "Papa." My GF had a busy time at work, so with me spending more time, it was not strange. Since my GF was already feeling guilty for not being around as much, I kept my mouth shut. About a week later, he said, "Mama," to my GF, and that was his first word. I plan to keep it that way forever. I have made many questionable choices in my life, and I am very open about sharing them, but one in particular, I am too ashamed to tell anyone. When I was a teenager, I was very shy and closed off, and it was hard for me to make friends with people who didn't have some kind of ulterior motive. I was very, very lonely. At one point, I made friends with a boy that I thought was pretty cool and interesting. He was really into history, and we knew a lot about other cultures. One day, he agreed to ride the bus from school to my house. We hung out for a while, just sitting outside talking. After a few hours, he said he was going to head home, and he said he enjoyed hanging out. I really didn't want him to go, so I told him that if he stayed a little longer, I would let him see my boobs. He did not respond positively. He said no and seemed offended and saddened that I would offer that. I was immediately extremely embarrassed and ashamed, and I think we only hung out once after that. If that boy happens to be reading this, I am so sorry for how gross and immature that was. I hope it didn't have a lasting effect on your perception of people. When I was younger, me and my mom would go visit my grandfather at his home, and there was this other boy there. We had a room upstairs where we could play and talk and stuff. The boy asked if we want to play house, and I said sure. I was playing the husband, and he was playing the wife. Then he said, "Shouldn't we kiss and stuff, like a husband and wife do?" We ended up doing that, but it got crazier. We got even more sexual every time we went to my grandfather's house, and we would make out all the time in the room, with the door locked. We married early at 20. Though we were not planning to start a family so early, my wife was pregnant a few months later. We happily spread the news as soon as her doctors confirmed the results of the home pregnancy test. Her family, okay, it was mostly her 2 sisters, were giddy with excitement. It would be the first grandbaby for her parents. She miscarried around the 10th week. We were devastated. Her family were supportive, but heartbroken for us. What they do not know, what no one else knows as far as I know, is that she fell pregnant again a few months later. This time, we had talked it over and were actually trying, but we didn't want to tell anyone else so early this time. The plan was to reveal the pregnancy once she was safely into the 2nd trimester. She was killed by a drunk driver about 9 weeks into her 2nd pregnancy. It is now more than 25 years later. I am married and have 2 amazing stepchildren. God, I hate the term stepchildren. They are my kids, but I never had a biological child. I sometimes wonder if I missed out somehow. Would I love my biological child more than my stepchildren? And I feel terrible for thinking that way. When I was in high school, one of my friends told me how he was going to shoot a few of the gangster type kids who spent all day bullying him and a few others. He seemed to obsess over it for a bit, and he wasn't really bluffing. He had access to a gun. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to rat out my friend and betray his trust. I also thought that their group had it coming. They were sadistic and revealed in the thug, world star type of stuff. At the time, I thought if it wasn't my friend ending them, it would be someone else eventually. Luckily, he didn't go through with it and now has a pretty successful career. My cousin is adopted, and the weird thing is, he always brags about being the firstborn grandchild and leader of the family. Also, his older sister is adopted, and everyone knows. He makes comments like, "She's a part of the family, but she's not blood related. I'm the oldest grandchild." I don't think I was ever supposed to find out this secret. I'm a very nosy person, and one day I was looking at everyone's birth certificates, doing natal charts, and noticed I couldn't find him until I came across adoption papers. I think I could be an alcoholic. Like, mentally, I'm 85% of the way there, but the rational 15% left in me stops me. I love the taste of alcohol. I love how creative it can be, and I love how I feel when I'm drunk. I love falling asleep drunk. I love my personality when I'm drunk. But I know I already have that personality, like it already is a part of me, but I stifle it for copious reasons. I have days where I want to go to work drunk. I have days where all I can think about is, damn, this 7-hour conference call would be hell of a lot better if I was drunk. But I don't do it because I know that'll fuck me up big time. So I don't drink. Came ridiculously close to jumping off a hotel balcony the day I was supposed to meet my dad after years of not seeing him. When I climbed over, I felt the most amazing rush of chemicals to my brain, literally the best feeling I've ever felt. Reasons unbeknownst to me, I climbed back over. I'm a recovering addict and have been chasing that rush of emotions ever since that day in excess. I'm the DD, the host, whatever I have to do, so a limit is set and I stop there. But I think if something in my life happened that truly shattered me, I worry I'll turn to alcohol and regret it. I'm scared and already some resentful of the fact that my parents will likely develop Alzheimer's and become my problem. I'm so close with both of them and have 2 older siblings, but I watch them go through it with their own parents, and I hate the thought of knowing it'll more than likely happen to them too. I'm seen as the doting daughter by my siblings, and since I don't have kids, it'll probably fall to me. I'm not unwilling, but I hate the thought so much. I will never tell my family about 2 times I was raped as a teen by 2 legal adults, 13, then 16. Also will not tell them about my overdose back in April last year, and the almost second one a few weeks later. Just no. Friends and such know these things, but family, OMG pity party and being yelled at for not telling them, I would just rather keep it a secret. Also less dramatic. I'm never telling them my ex, the only guy they knew I dated, was from Tinder, and probably every BF after him will be. Also, the real time and reason we broke up, and how toxic and horrible he was during, and the long after time. Some things family just shouldn't know about. I attempted to take my life at age 13 with what I thought were my dad's heart meds. It was actually some off-brand naproxen, and I only took one because I immediately had an allergic reaction. Luckily, my older sister walked in and gave me Benadryl and monitored me. I had other allergy issues, and my parents had trained my siblings and cousins how to watch me in case. They all thought I was in migraine fog and mistook the meds for my own. Never told anyone this. Every time my husband falls asleep, I make sure his alarm is on. His phone is charging, his glasses are where he always puts them, and his joint is out. He's a very grateful man and always says thank you when you do something. But these things he doesn't notice because he leaves for work at 6:30 a.m. and is very groggy. It's just nice knowing he's all ready for work. And I'll never tell him because I don't want him to look like I'm doing it with strings attached. I fully intend on changing my name, phone number, credit cards, and moving to a new country when I leave my parents' house. My family is a complete mess and have always made me feel worthless, but I know they would always track me down and make me be part of their lives if I left anything they could use to find me. It sucks because I want to be part of my mom's life, but you can't really have it both ways. I hate the fact that my girlfriend is too nice. I feel like we can't argue properly or have that nasty sex I so often crave because she's just too sweet and innocent. She is absolutely amazing and our life together is brilliant, and I will probably spend the rest of my life with her, but sometimes I just wish she would get really mad at me, or at least have an evil glint in her eyes. I might suffer from schizoaffective disorder. The main thing is I might suffer from hypersexuality too, and it becomes more frequent during some of my manic episodes. That has made me do some crazy shit. I've had multiple affairs with people older than me, and even had sexual encounters with multiple people at a time. This has included relatives in my family. I've also seen some pretty scary things with the people I have had affairs with, most of which I'd get in trouble for just speaking about. I'm a teenager. It's normal for your mother to annoy you, right? Well, once when I was 12, she punched me so far, I was abused at home and bullied at school. That day she hit me in one of her fits. That night, and for about a month, I would stand over by her bed with a kitchen knife in my hand. I have never spoken or told her. I always remember that she loved my older sisters as I did, so I never did anything. I'm not sure if this counts, because I have vetted to this to random online strangers before, but as for a secret I will never spill outside of the internet, is that I'm depressed. Not so depressed that I'm about to jump off a bridge any moment now, but depressed to the point where I would have mental breakdowns daily and couldn't get out of bed or bring myself to eat, eventually having to stop attending school. I would rather have my entire family continue to call me lazy, useless, irresponsible, a waste of money for the rest of my life than for them to find out I'm depressed and tell me, just do this and it will go away, like they do when I tell them I have severe social anxiety.